And welcome to another episode of the Two Fans Podcast. I'm your co-host, Joshua Ament.
And I'm your other co-host, Ari Jesselson.
And at the time, take this intro.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you can't see us, but we have some of the biggest smiles on our face, and that's because baseball is back.
Yeah, it is opening day. At the time of recording this, the Yankees and Blue Jays, the first game of the day, are in the top of the second right now, which technically means that Hyunjin Ryu still has a no-hitter going. But that's not the point of this episode. The point of this episode is that we have a whole 162-game season. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's not going to stop us from trying to predict what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, and just as usual, if you guys want to be part of the discussion, please let us know your predictions down in the comments down below.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is break this season down division by division. We'll look at some of the teams. We'll look at some of the key additions they made through trades or free agency, whether getting someone back from injury or opt out, whatever. Some losses, of course, too. Sort of what's like last season, what we think is going to happen to each of these divisions, each of these teams. It's going to be a lot of different storylines going on throughout each team, each division, and the league as a whole, which we can brush on that a little bit.
Definitely. So, Josh, where should we start?
Let's start with the AL East. Two teams that are playing right now, of course, in the Yankees and Blue Jays. Both of them made the playoffs last year, the expanded playoffs last year. Neither of them actually won the division. That would be the eventual AL champions in the Tampa Bay Rays. And of course, the big story in the offseason with the Rays is getting rid of Blake Snell. You also lose some players in Charlie Morton and Hunter Renfroe, which, by the way, in total, those three players, big three losses, combined for a 1.3 wins above replacement last season. I'm going to be referring to that a lot, and you'll notice that that's one of the lower rates of a drop off. Teams will this past offseason have lost probably like 2 to 3 wins above replacement due to key players they lost. So I feel like we're making a little bit bigger a deal of losing Snell as it is for the Rays. Of course, the Rays are a team that prides themselves on a lot of depth. Look at the regular season stats last year. You'll notice I think like Snell actually is like barely in the top 10 in terms of Rays leaders in wins above replacement. So I mean, the Rays I feel like are still gonna be strong and are still probably gonna take the division.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are blowing this a little over proportion because it is Blake Snell. He was a great pitcher, and we all know what happened in those World Series games and what he did for the season. But they still have Diego Castillo, who is a pretty good pitcher. He only played 3 games last year, but he had 3 wins, no losses, a 1.66 ERA. I'm sorry, he played 22 games, 3 wins, 0 losses, and a 1.66 ERA. Just those basic stats alone, which I know the stats don't always show everything. It's only 21 innings, only allowing 12 hits. They don't show anything. But that's such a great thing to build off of. You still have some pretty decent pitchers. You got Ryan Thompson, you got Josh Fieldings, and you still have some good guys on the bullpen. My question is for the Rays is can they be as dominant as they can be? Because a lot of this roster is still kind of hurt, but they did get rid of some key guys. But these Rays are still somewhat the same Rays as last year. This isn't like most teams where they have a big overall drop. This is only a team that got rid of some key players, but they could always build on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of depth in this Blue Jays team. Kevin Cash, the front office there, the system, they really seem to know what they're doing. They've been competitive for a while now, of course, breaking through into the World Series last year. But they're not the only good team in the NL East. You have the Yankees and Blue Jays, of course, the two teams starting off this season right now. Each of them have made some of their moves in the offseason. Of course, the Yankees with the big expectations that they always have, as well as the Blue Jays with I feel like the young core. This is the year they start to break through.
Definitely, and there were some injuries on the bullpen. I know that George Springer is supposed to start for the Blue Jays. I know that was questionable for the past few days. So that's going to be
no, sorry, I have to correct you there. That Springer is out for at least the first couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm sorry. He will start on the IL and will miss at least the 10 days. I'm sorry about that. I reported my facts wrong. Errors and omissions. So and also the newly signed reliever Kirby Yates will most likely undergo a Tommy John surgery. So you do have some injuries on the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays are still a young team and they can build back. As far as the Yankees go, they probably have a top 5 bullpen in the MLB, and I think that's a little bit of an understatement because they're not always going to be the thing. But Arnoldus Chapman is still one of the best closers in the game. Garrett Cole is still a great pitcher. You still have a lot of great bullpen guys on the roster. The thing is that really disrupts me is Gary Sanchez hitting because that's always been a pretty mediocre thing for him. That's always been big time for the Yankees. And it's also just the Yankees. So that's kind of one of my personal reasons why I want to see them fail. But the Yankees are definitely one of those teams who could push the hump. And the Blue Jays, they're injured now, but that doesn't mean they're going to be injured throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees, of course, are always that team that is just so loaded. Of course, the past couple of years, injuries have plagued them, and they haven't been able to sort of put every single piece they have together at one point in time, put them even into the World Series in the past decade. So I mean, I feel like in the past like 3, 4, maybe 5 years, you could have probably preseason prediction penciled in Yankees Dodgers. Wouldn't have gotten much of an argument. But I mean, the Dodgers have been upholding their part of that deal. The Yankees have not. I don't see much of a reason why it's going to turn around this year. Again, aside from like if they can all keep themselves healthy, if they can rally around Aaron Boone, but I still think the Rays are the team to beat in the AL East. One thing we also didn't mention is that they may or may not have the #1 overall prospect in baseball in Wander Franco coming up this season, and if he can get to the majors quick, they could possibly take themselves back to the World Series.
Definitely, they do have you have the #1 prospect as well as a lot of big names on the team. So that's always going to be interesting. But for me, the Blue Jays are kind of a sleeper team. And I don't think that's a little bit of an understatement. I mean, Vladdy is going to do what he keeps doing. He's only going to build off of that success. You have guys like Steven Matz, a pitcher, Hyunjin Ryu as pitcher also, Rafael Dolis, and you do have some pretty great guys in the bullpen. When their offense goes, they really do go. And I think that this Blue Jays team is going to be fun to watch. This is going to be as fun as the 2015 Blue Jays, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, with Vlad Jr., with Bichette, Vigio, that whole hitting core, as well, of course, the pitching that they've added in free agency. I want to go to one. I'll jump to one other dark horse team in the AL, and that's the Seattle Mariners. They flew pretty under the radar, pretty mediocre season last year, 27-33. But this year, of course, they have a lot of young talent and guys like Kyle Lewis and Taylor Trammell. They, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, added James Paxton.
Yes, they did.
Yep, he was, of course, big part of their rotation earlier in the decade. And also, of course, they also have another top prospect making his way to the majors, Jared Kelenic. Of course, will probably start the season in the minors, service time manipulation, all that not so fun stuff. But once he's in the majors, if he can develop quickly, if everything can click for the Mariners, especially in an AL West that seems up for grabs, you never know.
Definitely, they're a really young team. They got a lot to prove, and they got a lot of future success if they do play their cards right. We have seen in the past a lot of the Mariners teams kind of went under the radar, kind of flopped, and there were a little bit of problems with them. But this is a young and up-and-coming team who could have a lot of success, and they're kind of like the White Sox. So just like the White Sox, there are a young and up-and-coming team with a lot of great names on the roster. It just depends how well they build off of it. Just like the White Sox, the Mariners are a young team who I do believe could be something kind of going under the radar.
Yeah, the White Sox, I will tell you, as a Chicago fan, a relative of White Sox fans, that for them it always just seems like the past couple of years with the young prospect pool they have, they're pretty much now all fully grown up. Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, not part of that, but just sort of the leadership
Tim
there.
Anderson, just got to add one more
Yeah,
in.
how did I forget? Yeah. Oh man. It's been 5 months since baseball, man. But yeah, for them, it just always seems like like it's the year that they can make the push. This year, even more so, adding in Liam Hendricks and Lance Lynn over the offseason. They combined for 3.8 wins above replacement last year. That is, if you didn't know, a lot in a 60-game season. And then it's just one thing that always seems to derail them. This year, I feel like is the fact that I think this past week, Eloy Jimenez suffered an injury and is going to be out for most, if not all, of the season. Of course, you also lose a couple of pieces in James McCann and Alex Colomb in the offseason, though. But really, Jimenez is the big one that I feel like if he could have played the whole season, I feel like you could put the White Sox in as AL Central champs. With this, not so much. I'm much more inclined to say the Twins. Of course, they did win the AL Central last year and didn't lose many big pieces. Of course, adding in Colomb from the White Sox, Jay Happ from the Yankees, Andrelton Simmons from the Angels. You have another young prospect in Royce Lewis, 17th ranked, maybe coming up this year. So, I mean, in a very weak AL Central, of course, you see the White Sox may take a step back. The Cleveland baseball team will definitely take many steps back. Royals, Tigers, still in rebuild mode. I feel like the Twins have a pretty easy path to the AL Central title.
Yeah, and the Twins are one of the best teams in the AL Central. I know it's a really weak division, but that's not going to go without a little competition with the White Sox. They're both great teams, and they both do some stuff differently, but it's just going to be fun to watch the battle between those two.
Yeah, let's move back to the AL West because, like we said, that division is very up for grabs, so to speak. Of course, the A's did win it by a good margin last year. Although when you look at the players that they have lost over the offseason, including Liam Hendricks, Marcus Semien, Tommy La Stella, Robbie Grossman, Joaquin Soria, those guys combined for nearly 4 wins above replacement. So, I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at. Of course, you still have Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, and they're going to take you places, especially again when in an AL West that no team really seems to want to be taking command of. So I guess I mean I'll pencil them in as my AL West champions, but it is very, very up for debate.
Definitely, and the A's did lose a lot of key pieces the past free agency, but still, they also did add a minor piece. I know Sergio Romo is one of those guys we kind of talked about, but still, you still have guys like Chapman, you got Jed Lore, you got Matt Olson, who are always going to take you places, and they're always going to be great. But for me, I'm more concerned about the Angels because I feel like this is one of Mike Trout's years. This might be the last time Mike Trout has to be in the Angels to go in a deep playoff push. They do have some guys like Juan Lagares, Dexter Fowler, Justin Upton, Shohei Iwata, and they do have some decent Albert Pujols, Anthony Rendon, and they did build on top of those guys a little bit. They did get Rendon 2 years ago. But my thing is the Angels actually have a pretty decent chance. They got a lot of great guys who could make great offensive plays. The thing is, for me, it's such an open division that I don't really know. And the A's are always going to be one of those teams who crash. The Angels are always one of those teams who crashes. And the Athletics are just kind of one of those teams for me who kind of underperform when they really need to. They don't really step up on the plate, pun intended, by the way, when they really needed to. This really, it's this weird empty spot of it's one of those mixed divisions where it is good. The players are good. It has a lot of talent. But for one reason or another, it doesn't really seem like that. And I would love the A's. I do love them as a team. But for me, I think the Angels have more going for them.
Yeah, I think one more thing you didn't mention that the Angels may have going for them, probably maybe even the biggest wild card in the entire AL as a whole is Shohei Ohtani. Of course, touted when he came over to the Angels as a potential pitcher slash designated hitter. Hasn't really had the chance to get both of those in at the same time this year. It looks like he's going to have that chance, of course, barring injury or some other catastrophe. But if we can, first of all, just from a fan's perspective, to see that, I mean, I'm excited for it. For the Angels, if he can do either of them well, that's great. If he can do both of them well, that is absolutely amazing. I mean, so I don't really know what more to say there. But other than, again, the AL West will be an exciting race.
Definitely, just for a fan, we all remember maybe what freshman year, 8th grade, at least the two of us, hearing all these rumors about what this guy could do, and I think it's about time we finally see what he could really do.
Yeah, of course. So, do you want to save our sort of full predictions for the end once we cover the NL2, or can we move to the NL, or you want to just give our AL playoff predictions?
Let's move to the NL, then we can do the playoffs, and I think we should start with the NL East because I feel like that's one of the most interesting divisions in all of MLB. You have amazing teams like the Nationals, the Braves, the Mets, and even the Mariners, who could have a
No,
pretty
you're right the
decent
first time.
Marlins. Yeah, that's what I
It's
thought.
your division. Know it well.
Yeah, it's my division. I should really know this well. But yeah, you do have a lot of great teams. And for me, it's between the battle of the Braves and the Mets. Because the Mets, I know recently they just got this guy yesterday. No, they officially signed today. Francis Lindor agrees to a 10-year, $341 million contract with the Mets. And they are making pushes to better themselves. You got Pistol Pete Alonso, you got Francis Lindor, as I just mentioned again, and you always are going to have that incredible bullpen. My big thing with the Mets is that none of the guys can really stay healthy, and sometimes our offense is weak. That's one of the big parts of the Mets. But if they could stay healthy, if their offense could get moving like they did in previous years, they got a lot of success. In the Braves, I'm just going to say this before. Freddie Freeman is probably one of the greatest baseball players of our generation. I think it's sad to me that a lot of people didn't realize that in the past, but thankfully he's getting the recognition that he does deserve. And just adding on to that, you got Travis D'Armond, Freddie Freeman, you have Marcell Ozuna, Ronald Acuna Jr., and you do have a lot of great guys who could hit while also playing great defense. Well, for me, the bullpen is nothing spectacular. It is a great bullpen who does get the job done, and I don't feel like they don't really have any big name guys, and when the average MLB player's household will know. But you do have a lot of great guys who could do it. For me, if both these teams could stay healthy, it's my battle between the Mets and the Braves.
I mean, yeah, the Mets are absolutely the biggest wild card maybe even the NL as a whole. With the additions they have, you might want to sit down for this one, Mets fans. They've added through Lindor, Carlos Carrasco, James McCann, Trevor May, Taijuan Walker, and Kevin Pillar. 6.4 wins above replacement based on stats last year, the most of any team. And just to show you how lopsided the Lindor trade was, the Cleveland baseball team actually lost the most wins above replacement in the offseason with 4.5. So Cleveland front office, if I'm you, I'm focusing more on picking a new name this season. But I'll digress. I'll go back to the NL East. Of course, the Mets are absolutely all in this year. One thing are the Mets, and I'm not the Met expert in this tandem, but I know enough to know that the Mets tend to falter when the pressure is high. But of course, 2015 did happen. This may be another run like that. I will not let my skepticism cloud any Mets fans' optimism, but I still do think that Atlanta is too good in the NL East to be beat. Not a whole lot changing. I think your biggest additions are Charlie Morton, Drew Smyly. Your biggest losses, Adam Duvall. But really, that hitting core, Freeman, Acuna, Ozzy Albies, like that, they can really match up with just about any other hitting core in the league, and I think they're just gonna be too good to beat in the NL East.
Yeah, and I do think the Braves are the best team usually. But for me, I'm coming as a Mets fan also, saying that the Braves are one of the best teams in the MLB right now. But for the Mets, really, it's not about falling under the pressure. It's mainly they don't get the ball rolling, and when they do, it's usually too late. If they could get the ball rolling sooner, and if their offense could perform and everyone could stay healthy, that's going to be big for the Mets. I know that's asking a lot for them for a team that really never does that. But if that does happen, we're going to see a great battle between the two.
Yeah, and of course, that's not to discount the Phillies, Marlins, or Nationals making some runs. It really, you can't really look at a team and say that, oh, they have been horrible for the past few years. Not after you see the Marlins surprise playoff run, eliminating the Cubs. But hey, that young pitching core, Sixto Sanchez, maybe I'll learn to speak. And Sandy Alcantara, Raul Lopez. They're here. We'll see how well the hitting develops alongside it. But the Marlins are not the laughingstock that they once were, if last season is any indicator. Of course, Phillies haven't been the best of teams lately, but also haven't been the worst. They've been around 500. I don't really expect that to change. And of course, the Nationals, a lot of buy low candidates in free agency, like Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell, John Lester. Of course, finished towards the bottom of the NL East last year. Really up in the air. It feels to me like that World Series magic from a couple years ago is gone. But again, crazier things have happened.
Oh yeah, in this division, I don't want to discredit any of the three teams we didn't mention. Really, it's just that there's a lot to talk about with the teams. But it is a great division overall. I'm not just saying that because it's biased. There are a lot of great teams who are always going to make those pushes, like the Phillies, who do have a pretty decent pitching core: Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Chase Anderson, Archie Bradley, just to name a few guys. And these are guys in these teams especially that you never know what's going to happen with them. They are expected to do good and they flop. They're expected to do bad and they rise. For me, this is one of the hardest divisions to pinpoint because there's just so much happening. Because there's so much craziness that happens with this division, especially. That's really hard to see where it's going. And for me, that's what makes it hard. But for me also, I think the Mets and Braves have the best chances as of now to have those deep pushes.
Yeah, no argument from me on that front. And now, speaking of, I think a little bit more of a wide open division, the NL Central. Oh boy, last season was won by the Chicago Cubs. Not in a pretty way, might I add. But this year, Cubs. I'll start with the Cubs just because I need to get that off my chest. In losing Yu Darvish, John Lester, Jose Quintana, Kyle Schwarber, they're losing 3.8 wins above replacement. You adding in Zach Davies and Jake Arrieta and Jock Peterson, those are your biggest additions, are not going to compensate for what you gave up. You decimated your rotation when it was the best part of your team. What are you doing, Ricketts? Sell the team already if you don't want to spend. But let's look at a team that probably is going to win the NL Central in the St. Louis Cardinals. Nothing can go right. Of course, the biggest acquisition there in Nolan Arenado. He alone 1.5 wins above replacement last season. Of course, perennial Gold Glover, All-Star, third baseman, whatever award you wanna put. Arenado's probably in that conversation. Of course, the Cardinals just are one of those organizations that just always seems to find their way into the playoff hunt. Even last season, went. What did they go? They went. Why can I not see it? 30-28, and this was also, mind you, amidst a COVID outbreak where they had to basically play like a doubleheader every other day when that was over. So I feel like in terms of situation, they're going to be a lot better. In terms of talent, yeah, they're losing Colton Wong, but I think Arenado in the infield will make up for that loss. You have guys like Dylan Carlson still played in the majors last year. He's of course in his second year. I expect him to make some improvements, and of course they're the Cardinals. They'll still find a way. So one other team I do want to mention though is the Brewers, of course, because they and I realize I'm rambling on a lot, but I have a lot to say on the NL Central. The Brewers went 29-31 last season, made the 8th seed. This season, they're getting Lorenzo Cain back from opt-out. They signed away Colton Wong from the Cardinals. They also added Jackie Bradley Jr. from the Red Sox. Those three guys alone contributed 4.5 wins above replacement last season. So they're absolutely going to be once again in the conversation, if not for the NL Central, at least for the 5th seed in the NL, to get a chance to maybe upset the Padres in the wild card game.
Definitely, just staying on the Brewers, that outfield is stacked. You did mention Jakey Redler Jr., Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich. And I don't think you need a not. I think just if you're a fan of the MLB, you already know that this is a stacked outfield. The infield is pretty decent. Travis Shaw, Daniel Robinson, Orlando Arisa, who are pretty good guys. Omar Narvaez is catcher. For me, the pitching is a little weak, but that's just because I really don't know personally that much about the Brewers pitchers. So that just might be some biasness from not watching the games. And for the Cardinals, yeah, they're just going to be what the Cardinals do. I mean, you got Matt Carpenter, designated hitter. You have Nolan Arenado, a recent adding. You also got Paul DeJong, Paul Goldschmidt, who was added, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago from the Diamondbacks.
Too long ago, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, Dear Molina, he is on the end of his career, but he's still an amazing catcher, probably one of the best of the 2010s, maybe behind or in front Buster Posey, depending who you are. And that pitch, the bullpen, yeah, it is pretty good. It's not a bad bullpen. I mean, Wainwright he is a little older again, like I mentioned before, but he still is Adam Wainwright, Tyler Webb, Jake Flatschi, Janice Cabrera. You do have a lot of good guys. And the Cardinals, they're just going to do what the Cardinals usually do. No matter who they have on the roster, it seems like they always make a playoff push. That's kind of all they really do. They're always going to make that push. But at least you're not the Reds. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I was about to really talk about the Reds. Of course, a surprise playoff run last year. You are losing, of course, a lot of different pieces there. The biggest one in your Cy Young winner and Trevor Bauer. He's gone. Raisel Iglesias, your closer, he's gone. Archie Bradley, another key piece to that pitching. He's gone. That's 3.4 wins above replacement, and not really much to add on in the offseason. So really, I feel like the Reds for this season, and I think of myself as a fan of a team in the NL Central, as there is a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run, and so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I really think that's how the season's going to go for the Reds. Just very, very quiet, under the radar, and you just kind of ignore it.
Yeah, he's like that one kid in class who just shouts out that random stuff. I know we had a lot of those people in our class, and you just got to ignore that. That's what the Reds are for me.
Yeah, at least they are not the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you're not a Pirates fan, and you're wondering what are the Pirates up to this year, they are placing probably all of their talent in Ke'Bryan Hayes, another budding prospect. Played 24 games last season. He alone had 1.9 wins above replacement in just those 24 games, might I add. Just for reference, the next best player on the Pirates, full season, had a wins above replacement of 1.0. So yeah, when you think that it can't get any worse for the Pirates, they're losing Jameson Taillon, Joe Musgrove, and Chris Archer over free agency. So Manfred, if you want to at least try to do something right, I think one easy thing you could start with, just preparing. With the first selection in the 2021 MLB draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates select. But hey, if you are a Pirates fan, I would not blame you if you just decided to skip this season.
Not at all. And I'd just like to report something quickly. The first home run of the 2021 season just happened by Miguel Cabrera.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Is it 2 already? Oh, yeah, it is 2. Huh. And other games are happening now. We got one more division we'll go. And this is the big one, at least in the NL, with probably the two best teams in the NL, if you depending on who you ask. But in the LA Dodgers and San Diego Padres, of course, we could talk about the other 3 teams. I think, you could say Giants, just middle of the pack. Diamondbacks, don't really know what to think. Rockies, with the second pick in the 2021 MLB draft. But, but Dodgers Padres.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports in the 2020s. I don't think that's a big understatement. I know we said in the previous episode that LA is looking like a dangerous city. Obviously, the big reason the Reds aren't going to be so good is because they lost Trevor Bauer, their Cy Young pitcher, who signed with the Dodgers. And just going to that bullpen, I mean, just Trevor Bauer and Clayton Kershaw alone really make that bullpen special. You have probably two of the greatest pitchers of last year on the same team. That you got a great, and outside of that, you still got Will Smith as catcher. You have guys like Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, AJ Pollock. You have a lot of amazing guys. And this is the Dodgers who did win the World Series last year. They just added to their success from last year. I think they're going to be one of the hardest teams to destroy, to take down, because they just have so much talent on that team. There's so much they're doing great. And I don't like to say that because I don't really like the Dodgers as much. I think they're the Western version of the Yankees, if that makes sense. But the Dodgers did what they're going to do, and they're going to make a pretty good playoff push. And as for the Padres, Darvish, they got Darvish in free agency. Tim Hill is still a pretty good pitcher. You did get Blake Snell, and that's what we said for the Rays, who they did lose, which was a little bit of an overstatement, but he is a great pitcher at the end of the day. And just adding on, I mean, the big story for me is Fernando Tatis Jr. Because I feel like this is the first time he's going to play a full season in his career, and he had that mega extension. So this is going to be one of those, for a lot of people, this is going to be shown as, does he really deserve to make all that much? He is a great player, so he's going to do what he's always going to do and hit home runs. Outside of him, you got Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, Will Miller, Myers. And you do have a lot of great guys. These two teams are going to be the heavy fronts for the AL West. And I know I'm rambling on, but I just want to say something about the Rockies and Giants quickly. That the Giants are old. I guess kind of a lot of these guys are in their 30s. Tony La Stella is 32. Buster Posey is 36. He is 34. 34 is also is the same age as Bryden Crawford and Brandon Belt. So this team is getting old. And as for the Rockies, I did like them a lot, only because of Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story. Trevor and Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon is old. Trevor Story is one of the first guys coming from a prospects who I really followed. He was actually the first guy from prospects that I saw, and I really did like him. He's a great player, but they're just going to fall, and we all know that.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Dodgers because if you don't think that their rotation is absolutely stacked, David Price, who they also got in the Mookie Betts trade, just as a reminder, he opted out last season. This season, he's going to be starting in the bullpen. That's just how good this Dodgers rotation is between Bauer, Kershaw, Buehler, Julio Urias, Dustin May. It's just too much for any team. And then, not to be outdone, the Padres add in Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove. Man, guess really don't know how to speak, but those three pitchers alone combined for 4.1 wins above replacement last season. Of course, the hitting core: Slam Diego, Tatis, Machado, Hosmer, Myers. The list goes on. I mean, just those two. I said it before, I will say it again. Give me all of the Dodgers, Padres, national TV. Anything else is a disgrace.
Definitely. There's a big reason why we always say that, because this is just going to be fun to watch, just on the talent alone. I think these are, if we can, fans, including myself, want to see a Dodgers-Padres World Series. That's how great these two teams are. And I don't think we can really pinpoint which one is going to take the cake in the AL West. I think I can speak for the both of us. I want to see it for however long I can.
I still do think the Dodgers have the upper hand. Number one, with the playoff experience. Number two, Snell and Darvish are great, but they're no Trevor Bauer. So I mean, when you just, I don't know, just like you throw like the defending world champions in there, and the Padres again, they're young, they're a little bit more inexperienced. I expect them to close the gap a lot more this year. I expect you could probably like pencil in right now the NLDS matchup between the number 1 seed Dodgers, the number 4 seed Padres. Yes, I already expect them to win the wild card game. It doesn't matter really who they're facing. But then I could probably go on a rant about how the wild card game in itself, just like playing down 162 games to 1. But that's not the point of this episode. We've done an episode on that, so we could probably refer you to that. Shameless plug is very shameless. But where was I going with this? I honestly forget. Oh yeah, Dodgers Padres. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the Dodgers have more experience on the just in the playoffs and having deep pushes. And while Snell and Darvish are amazing pitchers, probably Hall of Famers, the way they're going, they're no Clayton Kershaw and Trevor Bauer duo. And the Dodgers' more experience in the playoffs is going to be key for what they're going to do.
All right, so that was 6 divisions in 40 minutes. So, what say you? We actually go ahead and reveal some playoff predictions that we have.
I say let's.
Okay, let's. I guess I'll go first, unless you want to butt in. I'll start with the AL.
No, go ahead.
All right. The AL. I'm gonna say, like I said, the Rays. Again, like the AL East is absolutely stacked. I feel like the Rays are gonna come out on top of it. I just don't see. I mean, the Blue Jays again are too young. I just don't see everything clicking for the Yankees. Again, this is one I feel like is very subject to debate, but I feel like the Rays are going to win the AL East, end up as the 1 seed. I feel like the A's are going to end up as the 2 seed. The Twins is a 3 seed. The wild card game is actually, I would say, come down to the Blue Jays and the White Sox. And I'm going to say that the Blue Jays actually end up winning that. Of course, you have some leadership now with guys like Simon Springer, who have some playoff experience, Springer, of course, World Series experience. But we already brushed on these teams. And then I'm gonna go really with an upset. I'm gonna say the ALCS has the Minnesota Twins beating the Tampa Bay Rays.
Damn. Okay, for me, I do agree with a lot of it, but I would just replace the Twins with the White Sox. For me, I just think the Twins are the more dynamic team on the list. And while the Twins do have more experience, I don't know, there's just something about the White Sox that really resonates with me. I feel like this is the year they really make that push. This is the year something amazing happens, something spectacular happens. I feel like you're gonna have a lot of award winners on this team. But for the Twins to make a deep push, I don't know. I don't really see it. I think they could go far. I do see them being the Blue Jays in my wild card, but I think that's kind of it. And just for the AL, I don't know. There's something about that White Sox team that really compels me saying, yeah, these guys are going to go far. These guys could even make the World Series. So for me, it's really between them and yeah, I think for me, it's really the White Sox, the Yankees who actually do make the World Series this year. There's something about that White Sox team that really resonates with me. Who says, yeah, these guys go far. I know I sound crazy. Don't get me wrong. I know I sound really
No, I
crazy.
mean, I would agree with you. Just if it weren't for the fact that one of their best players is going to be missing most of the season in Eloy Jimenez. Not to mention, of course, I realize we haven't mentioned the new manager, Antonio La Russa. Again, I mean, you can talk about like sort of, I mean, the DUIs or what the maybe an age gap, miscommunication with players. I don't want to look too much into that, but just the sense of like old school managerial tactics, are they still going to apply to the modern era of baseball? I mean, that's just a question I have. That's with the Twins, of course, you have, I know, not a lot of playoff success, but at least you have some continuity in that team. Of course, you're not gaining or losing any big pieces, but you are still gaining some solid pieces in guys like J.A. Happ and Alex Colomb and Royce Lewis and Andrelton Simmons. So those guys, I feel like yes, I know World Series may be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't know. I don't see things working out for the Yankees this season. I don't see things working out for the White Sox this season, and don't feel like the Rays. I feel like they're gonna be solid once again, win the AL East, but I don't know if a Rosarina or the team as a whole, if someone's gonna step up the way a Rosarina did, even with I mean, just a second time, it feels a little bit too far-fetched for me.
Yes, and I do get that, but I don't know. There's something about that. There's something in my gut that says, yeah, the White they do have a lot of injuries. There's a lot of new things happening, but there's just something that's telling me these guys are going far. These guys are going to do it. I don't know what's telling me that, but I got to go with my gut and just say that. I know the American division is going to be weird this year, but I don't know. There's just something that's telling me, yes, this is the year the White Sox do good.
All right, I guess I mean I can't really override your gut feeling. You can go ahead take that and then clown on me later once the White Sox actually do make the World Series. I probably should note that that the people who think that I'm a Cubs fan who hates the White Sox or anything, no, I am a Cubs fan who will absolutely like tolerate the White Sox. Don't really care. If I have no one else to root for, I guess I'll root for them. But I will digress. We'll move to the NL now, where Chicago will not make the playoffs. We'll get that out of the way, rip that Band-Aid right off. It will be a very agonizing season, but will not be agonizing for the Dodgers, the Braves, or the Cardinals, who are going to win, who are going, at least in my opinion, to win the divisions, 1, 2, 3 seed respectively, LA, Atlanta, St. Louis. Like we said, the Padres, of course, that wild card 4 seed beat. I'll say that they beat the Brewers in the wild card game. Could be the Mets. It's really up to interpretation. But NLCS, I'm going to say that Dodgers over Cardinals. That sets up a Dodgers Twins World Series.
It's gonna hurt me to say this, but I gotta agree with you on the National League. I really don't see the Mets doing really well this year. I'm a big Mets fan. I want them to do good, of course, but just the history of the team, I know what's gonna happen. But the Dodgers, they're obviously the biggest team this year. As we said before, the Padres, well, would love them to do good. They're just too young and too unexperienced. The same with the Cardinals. The Dodgers are the empire to the newly formed republic that is the rest of the MLB. Lord, who's the Emperor Kershaw and Darth Bauer are gonna reign on this parade. They're gonna destroy Alderaan, which is gonna be who's gonna be our wildcard team. Let's say just any other team in the MLB. That's what I gotta say. We don't have no Luke Skywalker, no Obi Kenobi, no Yoda. We don't have anything like that. I'm not gonna. We don't have anything. I guess I, for one, accept our new overlords in baseball. All hail the New England Dodgers. All hail the LA Patriots.
I mean, yeah, I can't try to think of a way to downplay that, because that is absolutely what it looks like. I feel like I forget the White Sox right in the AL. I think we can both agree that that this season, much like seasons past, really, you could say this is the Dodgers championship to lose. I have them again with my Dodgers Twins World Series predictions. I have the Dodgers sweeping them. I really don't see a team that can outplay the Dodgers unless the Dodgers just beat themselves.
Exactly. For me, I have the Dodgers and winning in a 5-1 game. I do think the White Sox do pull up a little bit of fight, but it's never going to be enough. And the only way for the Dodgers to fail is if they implode on themselves. That's kind of it. Unless, God forbid, someone gets hurt or something happens, the Dodgers aren't going anywhere. Unless they shoot themselves in the foot or something out of human control happens, the Dodgers are going to rule over the MLB.
Yeah, I really feel like you can sort of see a pattern, not just in the MLB, but sort of sports as a whole, where we're entering sort of a new age. I mean, you had sort of last year, Kansas City in the NFL winning the Super Bowl, and then immediate sort of favorites to repeat, start a dynasty. You see that sort of the NBA, not so much with the Lakers. Again, the core is a little bit older, but they're still contenders this year. I expect them to be contenders next year. Same thing really with the Lightning. And really, you can absolutely make that case even stronger for the Los Angeles Dodgers. It will be interesting to see if a team does knock them off. If not, we called it, much like everyone else. So we're really not that special. But Any last words before we end it off?
No, and we are special because I was thinking about putting the Pirates as a surprise team, but I just really thought, nah. Same with the Orioles. And just for anyone, Matt Harvey did make the final 52-man roster on the Orioles. Great for him. We love to see him on the roster. And just again, I, for one, accept our new overlords, and I think you should too.
All right, one more thing I do just want to add in before we end it off is just that that the Mets Nationals game today, as well as the one for tomorrow on Friday, have been postponed due to COVID outbreaks within the Nationals organization. So again, just a reminder that as much as we hate to say it, we are still very much in a pandemic. And here I am ending it on a bad note. Do we have a feel good story to end off on?
Bartolo Colon, big sexy himself, the man, the myth, the legend, the man, the MLB Hall of Fame will rename himself. He is still
right.
up. I mean, he's playing in Mexico. So if you want to see games, you can probably find them on YouTube. I know I said that before. He's in the Mexican Baseball League. I know it's on the MLB, but if you want to see Big Sexy himself, go check that out. He's just amazing to see.
And with that, I feel like this was timed perfectly. The stars are aligning. I'm getting to the Cubs Pirates game is about to start. So let me end this episode off right now. As I can sort of see the first pitches start to come in. Thank you so much for listening to us and bearing with us. We do this at some point in the week, probably one or two, maybe 3 times a week, depending on what we feel like. I really need to work on that part for an outro, but these episodes do go up to Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, or something you want us to talk about, you can leave a comment down below on YouTube or email us at number 2 fanspodcast@gmail.com. So until next time, we will talk to you then.